Tampa Bay is like no place else.
Wait, you can't recycle the bag. You have to throw it away.
Proper recycling keeps it that way for everyone. Bags tangle in machinery and can bring sorting efforts to a halt.
No bags.
Trash the bags and keep our recycling program moving forward.
No, Mom, look, no plastic bags.
Do your part to keep our recycling bag-free. Trash the tanglers or return them to participating retailers. For more information, visit tampabayrecycles.org.
Psst, hey, would you do me a favor? Grab your phone or smart device and open up that camera. Then point it right here at the QR code. Do you have it? I'll wait a second. When you see the link pop up on your screen, give it a tap. You ready? Boom! Welcome to the Hillsborough County official YouTube channel. We've got all sorts of videos here, all about what makes our community such an awesome place. From local events and community highlights to what's in the perfect Cuban sandwich. We've got it all. We're always adding new things, so while you're here, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a new video. Here's that QR code again, just in case you missed it. Go ahead and check it out. Ooh. This must have fallen out of that video. This really is the perfect Cuban sandwich.
Your wait time is 3 hours and 30 minutes.
It's okay, Dad. It's just not your day.
I know.
No, I mean it's not your watering day.
Oh, right.
Look!
Sometimes it's just not your day. Hillsborough County limits lawn and landscape watering to specific days in order to preserve year-round conservation. To find out your watering days, just visit hcflgov.net/water restrictions and enter your address.
Welcome to a meeting of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Welcome to the January 8th, 2024 public hearing of the Planning Commission on Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Amendments. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all online participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for the local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. For those who are not familiar with our process, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chairman. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will then be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will then ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. To all participants, please note that tonight's hearing concerns proposed changes to the comprehensive plan. Presentations should not include matters related to zoning applications and site plans that are not before the commission. Zoning conditions are not relevant to plan amendments and may not be considered by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission's purview in making a recommendation is limited to consistency or inconsistency with the comprehensive plan. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to please go ahead and call roll.
Bowden. Buzza.
Here.
Cardenas. Kona.
Here.
Fernandez. Kress. Here. Lauk.
Here.
Soria. Sieben.
Here.
Orton.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Joseph.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. All right, our first and only action item is 2A HCCPA 23-08 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Armand Drive and Soccer Avenue, and the presenter is Jillian Massey.
Good evening, Jillian Massey with Planning Commission staff. I'll be presenting this evening on HCCPA 23-08, which is Armand Drive and Soccer Avenue. And before I get started, just wanted to let you know that I did pass out some public comments. So if you didn't receive one, please let me know. The request before you this evening is a privately initiated small-scale map amendment on 2 folios, totaling approximately 9.81 acres. The request is to change the site's future land use designation from public/public, quasi-public, and residential 4 to residential 6. This plan amendment was originally part of the April cycle of plan amendments and was continued to the October cycle. It's in the western portion of unincorporated county and in the urban service area. It's within the limits of the town and country community plan as well. This is an aerial photo of the site outlined here in pink. It's located east of Hanley Road and Armand Drive and on the north side of Soccer Avenue. The site is currently vacant. The westernmost parcel of the 2 is a former landfill site. Surrounding uses include single-family residential on all sides, a public elementary school and park located immediately adjacent to the site. The Veterans Expressway is located to the east of the site, and there are some townhome and condo developments located to the west of the site as well. Here's some photos of the surrounding area. As you can see here, this is the corner of Soccer Avenue and Armand Drive. The subject site is on the right-hand side of this photo. Across the street is single-family residential. This is a photo of the residential uses, again, on the west side of Armand Drive, so this would be looking across the street from the subject site. This is the public school just immediately south of the subject site. And this is the public park and ball fields that are located south and southeast of the site. This is the adopted future land use map for the subject site. Currently, it's designated as residential 4 and public/quasi-public. It's surrounded by the residential 4 to the north and east, and public/quasi-public and residential 6 to the south and southeast. There is residential 20 to the west. The green lines in this map that you see here are the coastal high hazard area, which runs along the north side of the site. However, it is not within the boundaries of the site at all. This is the proposed future land use map for the subject site. The proposal is to change the designation to residential 6. The residential 6 designation allows for consideration of residential, suburban scale, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multipurpose projects, and mixed-use developments. Non-residential uses shall meet established locational criteria for specific land uses. This slide outlines the potential impacts of changing the site to residential 6. Currently, the land use designation combined would allow for a consideration of up to 4 dwelling units and approximately 106,000 square feet of non-residential development subject to locational criteria. The proposed amendment would maintain the suburban scale neighborhood uses allowable at a floor area ratio of 0.25, but would increase the residential density to a potential 58 dwelling units. So the main change here is the density increase. The non-residential uses and floor area ratio would be maintained. The application was sent out for agency comments, which are in your packet for your review. Some that are worth noting is that the Community and Infrastructure Planning Group objected due to sufficiency comments not being met, so it is our understanding that that was a procedural objection. In addition, the Environmental Protection Commission noted that any development within the boundaries of a historic solid waste disposal area would require further authorization. So in order to develop this site, there would be a process on their end that they would have to go through. Planning Commission staff has reviewed this application for consistency with the comprehensive plan and has found it to be consistent with several policies. First, policy 1.4 of the future land use element relating to compatibility in the urban service area and allowing the characteristics of different uses to be located near or adjacent to each other in harmony. Objective 16 and associated policies relate to neighborhood development and the protection of existing neighborhoods by using site planning techniques to ensure a gradual transition in intensity between land uses. And also the community design component, which talks about compatibility as well, and land uses having similar characteristics among the development pattern. And so based on that, Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed comprehensive plan map amendment 23-08 be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Thank you, Ms. Massey. Todd Pressman, for the record, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. Appreciate your being here this evening and reviewing this application. This is HCCPA 23-08. Let's start with a little history, which Ms. Massey referred to a little bit. July 10th, we were before this board seeking R6 and the R4 to Res 9 for 41.14 acres to allow for 370 rental units. Well, this room was packed and so was the overflow. It was very apparent that many, many, many dozens and dozens of citizens were not happy about it. So we have a lot of changes before you. We were 370 units, we're down to 54. That's encapsulated by the future land use category at 58 units, but we're at 54 under the plan. 41 acres becomes only 9.1 acres. And where we were asking for R9, we're now asking for R6. So we took very, very much into account the many, many, many residents and concerns, and we've made these changes. The use also under the companion zoning went from rental apartments to single family. So those were what we found out to be the critical factors that citizens were concerned about. So the issue today, as Ms. Massey has presented, is PQP, which is public semi-public, and R4 to R6. She's indicated or shown you that we're in the town and country area. This is the aerial of the location near the veterans. So prior, we were before you with 3 parcels, 1, 2, and 3. And you'll see the school situated and the sports complex situated, the counties. So we have removed number 3 completely. That's 31.33 acres that have been removed. And we now have filed with the county a companion zoning plan, just to give you an idea what's proposed under the PD, which would be a single family development at 54 units, as you can see before you here. So again, when you look at the area, as Ms. Massey has indicated to you, is primarily residential or single-family residential. There is also, very nearby, multifamily, and there is a school and the county sports complex. The existing future land use categories are the PQP and the R4. Oh, hitting the wrong arrow there. Now, when you pull back on the future land use map, you'll see that very close to the site is R20, another R20, and the R6 and the R4. Now, importantly, board members, the site is zoned RSC 6 now. So in effect, we are coming into consistency, really, asking for the R6 because the underlying zoning is RSC 6. Under the future land use map, the PQP does allow very intensive, very impacting uses. PQP is major existing program governmental-owned facilities, public uses, could be for private, churches, hospitals, schools, clubs, major regional district community recreation services, very intensive uses. So I would suggest you moving from the PQP, which are very intensive uses, to what we're asking for today is many times less impacting than what would be permissible under PQP. And then you had the amenity of the Schimberg Sports Complex, which is very well used as I understand it. I'm gonna keep hitting that wrong button. One of these days I'll learn. So looking at some of the comp plan policies beyond what your staff has indicated is location of elementary school should approximate within walking distance to residential neighborhoods, which they intend to serve, which this would be. This would be within walking distance to the elementary school. Utilize parks to inspire a sense of place and gathering places for the community, but integrate and design recreational facilities to be well connected and walkable to residential areas, which this would be just a little bit more than a stone's throw. And this notes strategically locate housing in conjunction with supportive transportation infrastructure. Your staff does have this in their report, and I just wanted to note to you that as they have shown you or indicate a little bit more detail of the public transportation, which is very close to the site and is a major route that runs through the city. Ms. Massey has referred to the Conservation Environmental Lands Review and has stated conditions that they are reviewing and working on at the moment. And as she indicated, we're not in the coastal high hazard area. When you look at the transportation report under zoning, under the zoning report, the traffic generation difference is actually a minus 85 as reported by the Transportation Department for zoning. So that is a reduction of trips upon their review and their analysis. There are multiple access points in and out, and looking at peaks, they're not outside the norm. And in regard to highlighting some of the planning staff reports, they note that this allows a transition of uses between what's proposed and the existing, meets the intent of many policies. Relating to compatibility, they note that it is in scale and is currently developed and would reflect the character of the surrounding area. They note that this would allow for development that is in scale and what would be currently developed and would reflect, again, the character. The Planning Commission staff finds it compatible with the surrounding area, allow for development that is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comp plan. So with that, we appreciate your attention. We hope that you recognize that we have put a lot of work into changing and modifying what was originally proposed in direct response to the many citizens that were here before. I will tell you that we did notice for this hearing 96 persons. I note that there are some folks here who will speak with you, but between what we noticed and what groups, large group you saw before, I think that's evident of trying to meet needs of the community as best as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Now for the public comment on this one, we had a few people sign up. We'll start with the online sign-up list. So listen out for your name. First, we'll start with Nancy Hendricks. Is Nancy Hendricks on the line? Please go ahead.
My name is Nancy Hendricks. I live at 7536 Armand Circle, and I've lived there for 35 years. I have grave concerns regarding the proposed development on Armand Drive, and I am opposed to it. First, building on a landfill. This is an extremely serious issue of chemical contamination that will occur by building on this former landfill. As stated by Mr. Greenwell from Hillsborough County Solid Waste EPC in the December 18th meeting, he said, building homes on landfills never has a good outcome. The dangers are listed clearly in the biannual report that his department publishes, including possible methane gas explosions, groundwater contamination, arsenic and benzene contamination, and so forth. Second, single points of failure in any build should be avoided at all costs. The plan to add 52 houses on 8 acres with only one means of access and egress poses a great threat. In a world which requires 2 exits to any building, how is it possible that having only one way in and one way out for these planned homes can even be considered? In the world of disaster planning and recovery, this presents the worst case scenario that if that street is blocked for any reason or anything, the hazards and the dangers are just so many, it boggles the mind. Which leads to my third concern, traffic and safety. Morgan Woods has over 400 students. This development seriously risks the safety of the children who walk to Morgan Woods, as well as the crossing guards, parents, and bus drivers who drop children off. Adding probably more than 110 cars to the existing traffic would be extremely dangerous for all involved in accessing the school, especially in the morning. At the very least, a second crossing guard in addition to the one at the Berry-Armand intersection will be needed at Soccer Drive in Armand. Further, cars turning onto Berry from Hanley will experience increased delays at the stop sign at Berry and Armand. The additional traffic will make it increasingly difficult for residents trying to exit the subdivision in every direction. Finally, the road conditions. Berry and Armand Drive are a mess of potholes. Pothole repair is an ongoing process. Increased traffic will exacerbate the problem, making driving on those roads more hazardous. Please take these concerns seriously when considering this amendment, as the lives and safety of the residents of 12 Oaks are in danger. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Julie Hurst. Is Julie Hurst on the line?
I unmuted myself accidentally. Yes, I'm here. My name's Julie Hurst. I reside at 6743 12 Oaks Boulevard, and I'm also representing the 12 Oaks Special District. We strongly oppose the proposed development due to environmental concerns for human exposure and detrimental impacts to the water quality that the county has already written of in their most recent August 2023 groundwater report for the former landfill site. In addition, we oppose the proposed development due to the increase in traffic in our neighborhood. If built, the traffic along that subject block of Armand would increase tremendously, as well as along Berry Road near both Hanley and Benjamin. The 54 proposed units will increase traffic in our neighborhood by at least 100, if not 150 vehicles per day. This would greatly increase traffic on, as I already said, on the block of the proposed development. There will be 8 additional homes would have driveways accessing Armand Drive, and the remaining 46 homes would have one ingress egress onto Woodkirk, which is currently a dead-end road. This would also be a traffic nightmare for the existing homes along Armand and Woodkirk, as well as a safety concern for school children and pedestrians. I read through the traffic study that was included in the application, and in my opinion, it was very misleading. It never defined when peak hours were. It described the subject site as not being in the Morgan Woods school zone, which is funny because the school is located 1 block south of the subject site, and there is a crossing guard with a flashing red light 1 block north of the subject site. An assumption was also made that the traffic would be headed, most traffic would be headed south on Armand Drive to get to Hanley Road. During the week, drivers would be much more likely to go north to Berry Road to avoid the congestion from all the school traffic. As we've already mentioned, the location of the proposed development is in the center of an existing community of 994 homes. There are no amenities such as grocery stores, restaurants, or office parks within walking distance of the site of the proposed development. So all of these residents will be driving through our neighborhood, presumably multiple times per day. There are already traffic and congestion problems along both ends of Berry Road. At Berry near Hanley, close to the proposed site, you currently have to wait through several light cycles just to try and turn onto Hanley in the mornings. I invite you to come at 7:30 in the morning and just check out Berry that time of day. It's a nightmare. With the addition of 100 to 150 vehicles, residents who live in that area of 12 Oaks will not even be able to turn out of their cul-de-sacs.
Ms. Hurst, can you wrap up your comments? We have 3 minutes per person.
Sure will. And I just urge you to consider the community and to reject this proposed development to protect the safety and quality of life for the existing residents of our community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Martha Holmes. Is Martha Holmes on the line?
Yes.
Please
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay. My family has lived in the 12 Oaks neighborhood for over 40 years. We are adamantly opposed to the proposed building project, which is now a proposal to add 52 single-family homes. The tract of land involved is just across Soccer Avenue from Morgan Woods Elementary School, a child development center, and a sports complex. When we first moved to 12 Oaks, Berry Road was the main thoroughfare through the neighborhood, and it still is. Traffic has increased greatly over the years, and Berry Road is used as a thoroughfare by people outside the neighborhood. If 52 houses are added, it is likely that there will be 2 cars per home, resulting in an additional 104 cars in and out of the neighborhood. It is conceivable that many homes would have 3 cars. The only practical way to exit from that area is Berry Road to Hanley Road, which would cause a huge backup. Cluster Avenue is controlled by a stop sign, and it is not feasible or safe to use Cluster to make left turns onto Hanley. We can also foresee Overbrook and Rustic being used by motorists on the way to Publix and other stores on Waters Avenue. Because the tract of land in question was used as a landfill, it is doubtful that it could be rehabilitated to make it safe for residential use, and one expert has already testified to that. If such rehabilitation were to be attempted, it would result in an endless parade of dump trucks and heavy equipment in and out of the site for many months, if not years, causing a major safety problem for school children and people in general. We do not want to lose the many old trees on that tract of land, which provide not only beauty to the area, but a noise buffer and shade to homes adjacent to the tract. Furthermore, it is a wildlife habitat, and wildlife in that area would be disrupted. This is environmental land and should be coded as such. Overall, this would have a very negative effect on the neighborhood that many of us have invested in.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Sue Pritchard.
Hi.
Hi, please go ahead.
Hi. Sorry. My name is Susan Pritchard. I am the president of the 12 Oaks Civic Association. I did submit most of my comments in writing, so I'm not going to go over all of that. A lot of it has been said already. I do want to reiterate the traffic study. I don't know who did it, but their qualifications need to be reviewed because it is obviously extremely flawed. The fact that you're going to add over 100 cars to our neighborhood and that's somehow going to reduce traffic is just a ridiculous assumption. As far as Mr. Pressman's contention that he's reduced the amount of people that object to his plan, that's not necessarily true. This has just drug on so long, and the notification of this particular meeting, I at least was not notified of until after Christmas. So we did not have time to notify all 994 homes about this meeting to make sure everyone knew what was going on. So don't assume that you have less objection just because there's fewer people attending the meetings either in person or via the internet. I have not spoken with a single person in 12 Oaks that is in favor of this. And as I said, I'm the president of the Civic Association, talk to a lot of people every single day. And the fact that not one single person has said, yes, we think it's a great idea to add another 50 plus homes into our neighborhood, you know, that's definitely something to think about. I would like to also bring up the wildlife displacement issue because was only briefly touched upon. We have gopher tortoises all over our neighborhood. They are legally protected, and I have yet to see any studies to say what animals are on that property and what they're going to do if they decide to build there. The whole idea of building on an old landfill, again, just completely ridiculous. You're going to pollute everything around it. This property is adjacent to a canal, which is a drainage canal that goes all the way to the bay, from my understanding. So we're going to be sending all that polluted water, arsenic, everything else right out into the bay, which we don't need. And again, just the idea, even if you were to clean it up, all those trucks of contaminated soil, where are they going? I'm going to let that go for now. I'm going to, close out my comments, but I did actually submit many more in writing, and I would appreciate it if everyone would review those. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. All right. Next up, we have Irada Pizarro.
Hi. This
Hi.
is Irada Pizarro. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi. So I'm going to go ahead and echo what everyone else has spoken about that's opposing this entire development. We are already battling the potholes to be repaired correctly, as the patch jobs just aren't holding up. The traffic on Berry Road is already a major issue, and it shows in the amount of money that the county already spends to keep repairing them. It's a constant battle. There's patch jobs. You got to come out. It's manpower. It's money. That's something that already exists right now, and it would be even worse adding any amount, not 52, 54. I've heard both numbers. Any amount of homes being added to this area would make that issue worse on Berry Road. I am a Navy veteran, and I'm always thinking about safety and evacuation. Adding any amount of homes, like I said, to this area is disastrous. One way in, one way out, or even if they got creative. I've looked at it. I don't see how they would, but even if they got creative and somehow made another entry or exit point, it's still a disaster. There's too many homes in this area already with the through traffic from Hanley Road that everybody uses our neighborhood to just cut through. Any amount of homes added to this area is a complete disaster. I'm asking you and urging you, please, listen to the residents that make 12 Oaks an actual community and just help us preserve it. Please stop this whole development altogether. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Michael Pizarro.
Yes, sir. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
How you doing? I'm Michael Pizarro from 6926 Williams. Just to echo what everybody pretty much is saying, this is a horrible idea. I absolutely oppose this whole situation. I am too am a Navy veteran, and safety is what is in our DNA. And the fact that you're going to put an additional more homes, more cars next to a school, next to a very, very, very busy complex full of kids, it's a horrible idea. On top of course, the environmental situation. So again, I oppose this entire idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pizarro. Next up, we have Elaine Roach. Is Elaine Roach on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns. As Town and Country is becoming so overcrowded, it is now necessary to even check the time of day before heading out to the store or anywhere in this part of town. Just this afternoon, I was at Walmart around 2 o'clock, and it took almost 5 minutes to leave the parking lot to make a left turn onto Hanley Road because of the constant flow of north-south traffic. It was unsafe. People were honking the horn. There was no place I could go. I just had to sit there and wait. In addition to all of these other concerns with the environment, I just can't imagine what's going to happen with health issues and who's going to be responsible for all of the medical expenses when people start getting sick from all of this. The other thing is the last 2 meetings, I attended. We had 40 to 50 attendees that came on the bus, and unless I misunderstood that only those who spoke at the meetings proved that they were in opposition to this. Well, that is clearly not true, because every one of us on that bus and in that courtroom were there because we do not agree with this. It is just unreal to even think that we can add more homes into a neighborhood that is so overcrowded. I walk my dog on Berry Road every day. I see constant speeding. I hear, on second house from Berry Road, I hear all of the speeders, the trucks, the motorcycles, the brakes screeching when they come to a speed hump. It is not safe anymore. It is nothing like it used to be. I've been here since 1977. I love it here. I love my house. I don't want to leave. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. But we have to keep what we have, because it is nothing like it used to be. But let's just keep what we have and try to improve it instead of adding to all of the growth and everything that's going on around here. Even these homes. What if these 52 homes become turned into apartments, like has been going on all over town and country? And a lot of them, if that happens, will probably not be done legally. And now we've got not just 100 cars, but maybe now we're going to have 200 or 300 extra cars. It just has to stop. I really appreciate you taking this seriously and vote no on this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Linda Mann. Is Linda Mann on the line?
I said we're unmuted. This isn't Linda Mann. This is Claudia and Colleen Barron. Can you hear us?
Yes, but we're looking for...
I'm not sure. It unmuted us instead of her.
Yeah. Is Linda Mann on the line, HTV?
Linda Mann did not sign in.
Okay. All right. That was all we had of people online who signed up to speak. We will go to the people who have come in person now. So we'll start off with Donald Richardson. Remember, 3 minutes per person.
All right. Good evening. I'm Don Richardson. I reside at 7301 Summerbridge Drive. I've been living in 12 Oaks for 45 years. I have a PhD in biology, and I'm here mostly to talk about environmental. And I want to read the last paragraph from the most recent report that was done on the Berry landfill. It says, the county continues to be approached for the potential redevelopment of the Berry Road landfill. In December, the eastern 31 acres containing waste was sold to Max Sports. Unless a proper development plan is constructed under EPC's director authorization, redevelopment would potentially have adverse effects to the environment and human health by 1, disturbing waste-filled areas, initiating groundwater plume migration outside of the property boundaries, impacts to nearby surface water channels, and the development of explosive landfill gases. Now, it is my understanding, based on the director's comments here, that you can't build on this landfill unless you clean it up. And I'm not sure, I haven't seen anything from the owner that says they're going to clean up this landfill prior to development. Some of the other people who talked about environmental, to my knowledge, they have not done a listed species survey of this property yet for gopher tortoises and other species. The traffic study, which people alert to, and the owner's rep here says there's 100 cars. If you look at the first traffic study that was reported, there's over 400 peak trips per day expected from those 52 homes. Now, you take that traffic load and put it on Berry. Nobody has talked about the quality of the roadway and the fact that we're producing another 400 trips on a 2-lane road that has 1 traffic light and no traffic light at the other end of it. They always say in the report that, well, we have another, on the cluster road, we have another way out. That road is not feasible to widen because of the canal there. So without a traffic light, which is too close to the other traffic light, they wouldn't be able to turn left onto that road, which is Hanley. So we have some issues here that have not been resolved, and I guess my question is, can they rezone, and I'm just posing this, can you rezone to a different category if the site is not buildable? And we at 12 Oaks feel, based on the water quality data that's been monitored since the landfill, that it's not buildable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up we have, Hilda R. Munoz? No? All right. And then we have Tim Plate? No? Christy Barino? Okay. Patrick McKeon?
Good evening. Pat McKean, 7016 Oakview Circle. I'm not going to bore you and say I reiterate everything, but everything they say is true. I attended the July 10th meeting for Hillsborough County Planning Commission recommendation when the developer wanted to build 350 apartments on this property. And the commission voted 8-0 against the proposed plan. During that meeting, it was revealed that at one point this property was used as a waste site and the land was contaminated. Again, I went to the December 18th meeting and more information came out about this property. This time the developer scaled back the plan to 52 new single-family homes. But again, more information was revealed about the past toxic waste site on the property. A continuance was granted for this property's proposed changes to be heard at the February 20th meeting because of this revelation. Then I received notice that the meeting date was moved up to January 8th to continue to push the plan changes through. This commission moving that meeting to this date. Last Saturday, I rode my bicycle to look at the property, and it appeared to me that the area in question looked very barren, with one large oak tree on the property that looked like it was dead. And the tall grass around it was brown and dying. With all the rain we had recently, you would expect to see some greenery. But the plant life on the land looked like it was dying. I kept riding my bicycle to the end of the road, across from the soccer fields. At the end of the road, I saw another property with a large sign from a real estate company, stating, "Property for sale, 30 acres." This property had a large amount of trees growing on it, and it looked like a healthy forest growing on it. There was a big difference between the two properties that I viewed in the same area, and you would think that this developer would show some trepidation and try to discover what has happened to their property to make it appear this way instead of trying to push through their development plans. It seems their interest in this property is only to make a profit, even at the expense of their future customers and the residents already living in this area. In addition, if this plan is approved, the school would see large trucks rattling past it continuously, possibly for several years. The noise pollution that the project would create would disturb the school and surrounding areas. Also, the increased traffic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. That was the last person we had sign up for the public comment. So with that, I will turn it back over to the applicant for a period of response.
Sir, this is your notebook here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. We take deep respect for anyone who comes on down to these hearings and presents their concerns. And verbalize those. But I think in perspective, as I've mentioned, if you look at the PQP, which is the future land use category now, it's a very intensive, very trip-high rate that could allow a hospital or another school, a regional recreational facility like a concert facility, or maybe some other type of attraction that would be a regional element. The county could easily add to the soccer fields that you've already heard have been extremely disruptive to the community. These type of uses we would propose are many times more impacting than 54 single-family homes. Double checking with our transportation engineer, our transportation consultant, when you look at the ITE trip rate, the trip rate is only 27.5. You can round it up to 28 trips. It's only 54 single-family homes. It's not a big impact. And take that in perspective to the change that we made, which was 370 rental homes, which I have is about a 700% reduction. The change from rental to single-family, and going from Res 9 to Res 6. The neighbors have indicated quite correctly at the zoning hearing and in the record, in your report and the zoning record, that the environmental staff does have requirements, and they would need to meet a sign-off by the EPC director, and we don't refute that. That is going to be required, and those conditions are going to have to be met. I understand that that's a concern, but brownfields and landfills are recuperated for many positive uses. In fact, over in Pinellas County, their extremely large landfill now acts as a FedEx distribution point. So they can be very successful, and they can be an asset to the community. When you look at your staff comments, just to repeat, your staff has told you uniformly that this is consistent, it is compatible, it meets the standards and intent and policies of your comp plan. And I will state again that although certainly there are folks here and there are folks that spoke and there's folks that have concerns, what was here in July was many, many, many times beyond what we've seen tonight. So with that, we appreciate your time and attention, appreciate the comments from the citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pressman. All right. Over to the planning commissioners for questions, discussions, thoughts on all of this. Commissioner Kona.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. When I was on the school board, I represented this area, so I'm very familiar with Morgan Woods and 12 Oaks. It's a great community, a great neighborhood. Just to throw some facts in the mix, the school-age population in that neighborhood has declined. And I think you have a great school with a great principal in Morgan Woods Elementary that is just under 500 enrolled with a capacity of 770. I think that, I think it's important that people realize that we are, whether we approve or give a negative recommendation, it's just a recommendation. I do think that, I do think for Morgan Woods, the elementary school's sake, I think 50 single-family residences would help that school. So that's just my 2 cents. And, I would definitely vote in favor of passing this on to the next level.
Thank you, Commissioner Kona. Are there any other questions or thoughts from the commissioners on this one? I am not seeing many. So, Commissioner Lauk.
I would like to thank all the residents who came out to speak and the folks who took the time to dial in and express their concerns.
Thank you, Commissioner Lauk. Good points. Are there any other thoughts from the commissioners on this one? Going once, going twice. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment on this one and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Anybody? Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move that we find HCCPA 23-08 consistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and forward on to the County Commission.
Second.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding from Commissioner Buzza. A second to that motion by Commissioner Kona. I see comments from Commissioner Kress.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that all the residents understand that our purview, like Commissioner Kona said, is very, very narrow. And again, it's a recommendation. So this is not your last stop. So I just wanted to give you that assurance.
Good points, Commissioner Kress. All right, with that, we have a consistency motion before us and a second to that motion. Are there any other comments to follow Commissioner Kress's? Not seeing any, then all signify approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. And I just wanted to remind the clerk that Commissioner Soria walked in, so he's here now, part of the vote. Thank you. All right, that was our only item of business for that public hearing, so we will move on now to our next public hearing. And give me a second here to read us in. All right, welcome everybody to the January 8th, 2024 public hearing of the Planning Commission on City of Plant City Comprehensive Plan Amendments. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all online participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for the local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. For those who are not familiar with our process, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chairman. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will then ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. To all participants, please note that tonight's hearings, concerns, proposed changes to the comprehensive plan presentation should not include matters related to zoning applications and site plans that are not before the commission. Zoning conditions are not relevant to plan amendments and may not be considered by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission's purview in making a recommendation is limited to consistency or inconsistency with the comprehensive plan. And with that, I'd like to please ask the clerk to go ahead and call roll.
Bowden. Buzza.
Here.
Cardenas. Kona.
Here.
Fernandez. Kress. Lauk.
Here.
Surya.
Here.
Sieben.
Here.
Orton.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Joseph.
Still here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Right. All right, our first and only action item is 2A PC CPA 23-04 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment south of Trapnell Road, east of James L. Redmond Parkway, and the presenter is Krista Kelly.
Good evening, Krista Kelly, Planning Commission staff. I'm presenting a comprehensive plan future land use map amendment PC CPA 2304 located south of Trapnell Road and east of James L. Redmond Parkway, or also referred to as State Road 39. The request is a privately initiated request for a small-scale amendment on a site that is approximately an acre in size. The applicant is requesting a change from Hillsborough County's Residential 1 to Plant City Residential 4. As you see on the location map, the site's located in the southern portion of Plant City, again south of Trapnell Road and east of James L. Redmond Parkway. The site is adjacent to the Gateway District in Plant City, and it's approximately 2 miles north of State Road 60. This area shows the city limits with the blue dashed line and the subject site outlined in pink. As noted, the site is, actually I didn't mention it, but the site consists of 2 parcels, 2 folio numbers. One folio number is covered by this pink line. It is actually the driveway that leads to a larger parcel in the rear. The parcel on the right is also attached or has a parent parcel that is directly south of the site in this area. The site is undeveloped, and the surrounding area is basically characterized by agricultural uses and clusters of rural residential development. This is a street view looking at the site, looking south across Trapnell Road. This is looking from the southern side of the subject site north towards Trapnell Road. This is looking east along Trapnell Road towards James L. Redmond Parkway. The subject site is on the left. This is looking west down Trapnell Road towards Cowart Road. The subject site is on the right. This is the adopted future land use map. The amendment site is colored white and outlined in black. The site is currently identified as a transitional area. A transitional area means the site's been annexed into Plant City, but still retains a Hillsborough County future land use designation. In this case, the subject site's designation is Hillsborough County Residential 1. To the south of the area is designated Plant City Residential 4. To provide context, this area was the subject of a plan amendment, CPA 2109, which was adopted in 2022. That's this large area here, which changed the land use designation from Hillsborough County Residential 1 to Plant City Residential 4, and now is approved for a residential planned development Southwind. To add further context, the subject site for this amendment was initially included in the plan amendment, CPA 2109, but was excluded before the adoption of the amendment due to an annexation issue, which has since been resolved. The applicant has indicated the purpose of this amendment is to incorporate the subject site back into the previous amendment and now approved Southwind Plan Development Project area. The blue line delineates the Plant City city limits. The areas to the west and south of the blue line are within the city limits, and the areas to the north are outside the city limits or in the unincorporated county. In Plant City, the area colored purple to the northwest and southwest of the site are designated Gateway District. This district extends south from Charlie Griffin Road to South Kilgore Road along James L. Redmond Parkway, and is envisioned to promote a mixed-use community with allowable densities up to 16 units per acre and a variety of non-residential uses. Outside Plant City, to the north of the site, the area is designated Hillsborough County Residential 1, recognizing the established rural community and agricultural uses in the area. This is the proposed future land use map, now showing the site designated Plant City Residential 4. It is, again, adjacent to the Southwind Plan Development and the previous amendment site, now also designated Residential 4. Currently, the site designated Residential 1 allows approximately one dwelling unit on site and approximately 9,801 square feet of non-residential use. If the amendment were to be approved, that would increase the density, allowing up to 4 dwelling units per acre, which would be 4 dwelling units, and would eliminate non-residential uses. The proposed amendment would allow for higher residential density and eliminate non-residential development. Staff reviewed the proposed future land use amendment to Plant City's Residential 4 and found it consistent with the applicable objective policies of the Plant City Comprehensive Plan. These cited objectives and policies are in your packet for your reference. For the purpose of the staff's consistency findings, several policies were determined to support the proposed amendment. The residential land use related policies 1.1.3 and 2.6.2 encourage the provision of a variety of densities to meet the community's needs and to support new development that further the vision and policy direction of selected area studies. The proposed amendment site is adjacent to the Gateway District, which envisions a mixed-use district with a variety of densities and intensities of use along James L. Redmond Parkway. The proposed suburban scale land use category, Plant City Residential 4 will further this vision by providing a visual and density step down in development, transitioning from the potentially higher densities and intensities allowed within the Gateway District and providing a buffer for the rural residential development and agricultural uses established to the east of the amendment site. Staff found that the growth management related land use policies 2.7.1 and 7.4.5 support the proposed amendment. These policies outline growth management strategies that promote orderly development and discourage sprawling development patterns. The land use policies encourage compact development patterns and the coordination of new development with available infrastructure in a manner that integrates the new development with adjacent uses. The proposed amendment site is located in an area anticipated for growth and development and designated as the city's gateway district to allow for mixed-use activity center that provides for urban scale development and intensities. Further, the City Utilities Department has indicated that there is available water and sewer capacity to serve the site. Lastly, public facility related land use policies 7.5.1 and 7.5.5 expand on the need to coordinate the location and timing of new growth with the provision of infrastructure. The proposed amendment, again, is in a location planned and experiencing urban and suburban scale growth. And again, the site is intended to be incorporated back into the planned residential development Southwind. Based on these findings, Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Plant City Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant is also here with a presentation.
Please come forward, yeah.
Good evening, Christy Barrera with Height Design representing the applicant. I do have a presentation. Krista did a great job, so I just want to reiterate that this is really a cleanup item. Like Krista mentioned, this area was annexed into the city of Plant City in 2022 with a larger area. So here you can see in blue is an area that you all already approved for a comp plan amendment in 2022 from Hillsborough County Residential 1 to Plant City Residential 4. The red area is the area in question today that's just under 1 acre. We had hoped to include this in the original comp plan amendment in 2022. But as you can see by this graphic here, there's a couple of other parcels that were brought in at the same time. The boundary of, let's see, can I show my mouse? Let's see. Oh, here we go. I had it for a minute. So you can see on this graphic that the light yellow is unincorporated Hillsborough County. The brighter orange and the white are Plant City future land use designations. So the parcel in red, the parcel that's in question here this evening, is part of the property that was also owned by the same property owner as what was previously included in the comp plan amendment. But there was 2 parcels to the west and 1 parcel to the east that are owned by different property owners. We needed to get their signatures as well for the annexation. We were able to do that later on in the process, and that's why the city limits changed, but we were too far along in the comp plan amendment to add this piece in at that point. So now we're just doing a cleanup for the comp plan amendment, and as Krista mentioned, there's a companion zoning in the city as well to bring that into an existing plan development zoning. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but like I said, Krista she has a lot of the same maps that I have. Happy to go into more detail if you need anything.
Thank you. All right. We did not have anyone sign up for comment on this one. I'm gonna check with Tim Plate.
So Tim Plate is the engineer on the project.
Okay.
He's here to answer any
Okay.
questions also.
All right. Then we had no one sign up for the public comment on this one, so I'll turn it over to the commissioners for comments, thoughts, questions on this one. Not seeing any, going once, going twice, and I'm going to close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we find PC CPA 23-04 consistent with the city comprehensive plan, Plant City comprehensive plan, and forward on the Plant City Commission.
Commissioner Lauk.
Second.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding from Commissioner Buzza, a second to that motion by Commissioner Lauk. Any comments or questions from the commissioners before we vote? Not seeing any, then all signify approval or agreement by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, that was our only agenda item there tonight. So with that, this meeting is adjourned at 6:35 p.m. Have a good evening, everyone. Enjoy your Monday Night Football.